on the second line of page Yud Beis. The principle that we're discussing right now is that sechel is actually mislabesh in the lower madregas. As mentioned earlier in the Keach Atnua Shemiyad and so forth. Now we're talking about midas. That sechel is mislabesh in midas. As we already pointed out, that the infant is mislabesh does not only mean that it gives guidance from afar. Mislabesh means that it actually is imbued, it unites with these koiches. The sechel is mislabesh, is in uniting with the koyach hatnua shebiyad, so that the koyach hatnua shebiyad acts in a sechel in a very wise manner. It doesn't have to be stopped and directed. It is imbued through with the sechel. Like we already discussed this. Now we talk about midas. That the same thing is in the midas. That the midas are mislabesh in the goof. Each midah has its particular function, and therefore its particular means by which it is mislabesh in the goof and accomplishes its function. Like chesed is in the right arm and gvura in the left arm. And in that, there is mebchinas ha-meichen, there is of the aspect of meichen. It's pointed out that this is begashmius represented in the fact in the arm there is and present Chabad and Chagas and He. Now he discusses it more specifically. Ukmei, at the end of that second line, Ukmei haseichel shemechayev hashpoz hachesed. One of the three levels in chesed of how moichin, how seichel is found. First, there is seichel shemechayev hashpoz hachesed. The seichel directs, and mechayev means it requests, and it says that there should be haseiv mashpos haseichel, directs the chesed that it should be mashpiyah. The etzem ha-chesed, and then there is the etzem, the koyach chesed, the midas ha-chesed itself. Besides the seichel that announces it, the midas ha-chesed itself is also a real midah, and there is seichel in that. Upiyolosei, and then furthermore, upiyolosei, its action, its effect, haina hashpa'osei bepeil, which refers to hashpa'osei bepeil, its actual effect. This is discussed elsewhere more specifically. In all three of these levels, there is the involvement, intrinsic involvement of the seichel. Like we gave the example, the seichel says is to move this cup over here. That is not the end of the seichel. Yes, this is what initiates it, but then as you move it, the seichel directs how you should be moving it. And the whole thing is fully directed and controlled and inspired by the reality of sechel. So this is what we call chitzonius hamidus. The kol shekain, and then how much more so? Definitely. Bebchinas pnimius hamidus shebelev. In the pnimius hamidus shebelev, the pnimius, the essence to the midas, shel adam ha'elin kaviyochel. Because right now we are talking about the way things are lamaila. So lamaila there is also the whole structure what's called Odom. So in Odom or Elin Kaviyochel, the supernal Odom, there is also the Chabad and the Chagas and so forth. And there is the Pnimis Hamidis Shebelev. In other words, Lamaila also. The Midas are part of the reality of the Odom, and then when it comes to functional and to have the effect of Midas, that's a second stage that's called Chitzenius Hamidus. Shehein Lamailo Adaye Mibchinas Peula. These are the Midas Shebelev, in the heart of the Odom Ha'elin. They're above, as of yet, of the Inyan of Peula. In other words, this is the essential midah that is not yet at the level to relate to an action. Sheyesh bohem mibchinas hamoichi. That in these midos, as they are internal to the heart, yesh bohem mibchinas hamoichi. In them there is also of the aspect of moichi. What?
I didn't get the distinction between when you move to the panemius of the midas.
This is that element of the reality of the nefesh that we have a difficulty identifying. And the reason for that, as I mentioned many times in the last few days, is that we relate to the functional element only. And the reason we relate to the functional element only is that we perceive all the midas, as I said on Sunday, reactionary. I see someone in distress. It bothers me that he is in distress. And the psychologist will tell you know why it bothers you? Because you're projecting yourself being in that distress. You don't really care about him. This is the whole process of midas. You're projecting yourself, you imagine yourself being, and therefore you want to alleviate that projection. Because we're talking about essentially a lifeless human being who is all on the reactionary level. Like we said, on the simplest level, I eat because I want to live. No, I eat because I'm hungry. Something's bothering me. And miraculously, God has created all the creatures that they should have a sense of discomfort when they are hungry, when they need to eat. And therefore, this is what maintains them alive. So we are learning that this is not the case at all. There's a living soul that gives life and is aware of all the necessities of life. Eating, for example, we got into this. Eating, for example, is not a byproduct of the fact that the body needs to be replenished. The soul is imbued in the body, and it knows that here I'm in this level, in this world, where things have to be replenished. This is how the soul relates to the body. But this body does not have an essential means of sustaining itself. It is made of flesh and blood, and it needs, and I have to arouse it. Hey, replenish yourself. This is why we have a difficulty in relating to these things, because we have a completely different perception or non-perception of the reality. This is why the Rambam begins his Sefer. We're going to have a book of laws and directions. So you would think that these are all superimposed on an empty stomach. So Rambam says, no. You know that there is a first being. And your approach to life is on the basis that there is a first being. And that there's reality to your life. And there's reality to the world in which you function. Therefore, there are guidelines and rules how you should function in this world, because you want to reveal, you want to be in contact and in conformity with the initial reality. Okay, this is just an absence of the yin. We have to all the time go back to this level, because otherwise we are completely devoid of any significance. What are you talking about? So therefore, the human being is a full structure, a full world. And what does a full world mean? A full world is a full structure in this world, which means he has moichin, he has purpose, and he has the means by which he relates to the world, which is midas. Where he wants to influence in a good manner, in a good way. This is midas hachesed, midas ha'ahava, and so forth. That is inherent in the very essential presence of the human being, not as a reaction to the fact that I see him in distress. But as a human being, I want a human quality all over. This is what I'm saying. This is not a point of piyula, of effect. In that there is of the element of moichin. Again, in our terminology, the element of moichin means that there is a reality, there is a first being in it, a meaning. שזהו כמשל, וכמי ויאמר השם אל ליבו. As it says in the Pasuk, ויאמר Hashem el libo. What does it mean? ויאמר הוויה el libo. He said to his heart, שזהו המשוך אז בחינת המויכין למידויס. This command, this speaking to his heart, is effectively the moichin speaking to the midas. This is in midas in general, of chesed and gevura and so forth. Ukmoi kein b'bchinas hamalchus. The similar inyan is in the b'china of malchus, which is on the furthest execution level, active level. Shezehu kemoshol koyach ha'hiluch sheberegel, which is correspondent, which is like the moshel of the koyach ha'hiluch. The koyach ha'hiluch sheberegel, the foot has the koyach of walking. Again, the foot has a koyach of walking, because this is what the foot was created for. A person walks not because he's got a necessity to run from someplace, but this is what a person is. A human being has this koyach of walking in an initial level. That's the definition of a human being. Similar to, so this is the malchus element of midas, of the whole structure. שזהו המשוך אז בחינס, שהיא בחינס סבב כל דג in the Atzilus. Again, we have to remember that we're talking the way it is in the Atzilus. And this koyach ha'hiluch, this is save kol dag in the Atzilus. This is the end of all madrega. This is the lowest level within Atzilus itself. Kemoshel haregel, comparable to the foot in the human being. We spoke about this multiple times. What is the principle of the koyach ha'hiluch? Principle of koyach ha'hiluch is starting from the highest all the way down to the lowest. That a person relates to the entire reality, the entire world. At a higher level, the Baal Shem Tov says, and the Ratzon is automatically there. At the lower level, at the Malchus level, it's Koyach HaHiluch. He has to walk there. What is the Malchus level? The way it is in the Nefesh. Yes, he is everywhere, but he does not really encompass it. It's not really demonstrate his ownership of it. Malchus is where he actually demonstrates his ownership. He walks there. This is what Malchus is. A melech can be in his palace, and he is everywhere. He is everywhere. He owns everything. His presence is everywhere. Now we have the parentheses. V'gam nikro regel. Another reason why this is called regel, foot, liyes, being that shebo v'aliyodo nimshech hagila ba'olam shelamato. That via this midah of this regel, the inyan of Atzilus is nimshach, is brought down and is imbued ba'olam shelamato to the lower world. Ukiyodua the Malchus of Bechinas Hagila. Because Malchus is in Hagila. This is exemplified by the human being having a foot and being able to relate to the world at the foot level. Okay, this is it for this morning.
What is the panemius of the midah? We say that the moichin. How do we see the moichin in the panemius of midas? He makes that distinction, right? He makes between what we just learned about Xitzonius, and then he says the panemius of the midah. How do we see the moichin in that panemius? Did he bring that out?
He didn't bring it out. It says in every madrega there is moichin. There's in Yahweh. I explained what is the moichin. That it's not reactive, but it's real.
Yeah.